Jordan Peterson would be proud. I've connected myself to the higher power. I've connected myself to order and chaos, to hell and heaven. You see, my gripe with Jordan Peterson is that he masquerades himself as a man of culture, as a beautiful intellectual, so profound that you don't understand him. You cannot really grasp his level of intellect. My gripe with him is that I've consumed 300, 400 hours of his content back in the day, about 4 years ago, when he was just a professor. And now he is a political pundit, a very divisive figure, obsessed with gender, obsessed with all of these things. But you see, that would not really make me mad. What really makes me mad is his advice. You see, it's so basic that even 7-year-olds can understand it. Stand up straight, pet a cat, smell the roses, speak with precision. Well, Jordan, you should listen to your own advice on that one because you are struggling with that one. And in true Jordan Peterson fashion, I did not clean my room. I did not clean my house because today is Sunday, God's day. That's why I choose to connect myself to the higher power first. And then tomorrow on Monday, as on every single Monday, I will clean my house. But you see, all of these people, most of the self-help people, but Jordan Peterson to be more exact, they are peddling basic advice that even your mom or a 10-year-old can tell you. Everyone knows these things. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to other people. You learned that in like 3rd grade. You understand that from the get-go. If you don't, tough luck. No, but the point is that everybody knows all of these rules. Everybody knows they should have better posture. Everybody knows they should enjoy life, smell the roses, pet a cat when they see it. I don't know why he said pet a cat. Why not a dog? Are there no stray dogs where he lives? Pursue what is meaningful, not what is expedient. Brother, we already know we shouldn't do all of these things. Do you think a teenager, when they do drugs, they don't know they shouldn't do them? They do them because they're bored. They do them because they want to. They do them because they want to feel something. But you see, every self-help guru peddles these, at least the popular ones. It doesn't matter. Or most of them tell you that the lack of understanding, the lack of knowledge, the lack of logical thinking is your problem. But you see, that is not really your problem. Everything that Jordan Peterson wrote in the 12 rules for a shitty life will not really help you at all. Because you see, you already know what you should be doing without even reading that book. You already know exactly what you should be doing, but you don't do them. That's the problem of the modern world. Everybody, I'm criticizing the world before cleaning my house. Oh no. I'm not. I'm just I'm being precise with my words as opposed to Jordan Peterson, who doesn't point this out. We already know exactly what we should be changing. We already have enough understanding, enough logic. And that is not, by adding more understanding, will not magically make us do the things that we should do. We already know exactly what we should do. The problem is we don't do that. And of course, this video would be nice if it were just for entertainment purposes. But you see, I mean to educate. I'm here, a nobody, clamped to the higher power, with a ladle in my hands and my beautiful EMF protection gear to tell you that you can do just that. All of these things that you've been avoiding, all of these things that you've been postponing, procrastinating, being lazy on. You can do all of them. But you have to understand that you are looking at the wrong problem. You think that you don't have the perfect plan. You think you don't have the perfect strategy. You think that you don't have enough understanding or knowledge to change yourself and to do things. First of all, the biggest problem is that we don't really have control over ourselves. We do not have the evidence that we have free will. So our first logical step is to assume that we don't have any free will. So where do we go from there? What do you do when you have no free will? You try to increase all of the things that you are already doing that are helping you. That's the first step. Everything that helps you, that you've managed to put into actions, you turn the faucet on. That will increase your life tenfold. The amount of things that you get, the amount of results, the amount of good things happening. Because you've already tested and you don't have to build new ways of doing things. Okay? That's the first thing. The second thing is that all of the bad stuff will get squeezed. They will get tightened. They will be put into a corner and pushed over there. And you will not be able to do them as much because you've turned the faucet on the good things. So now you are spending more and more and more time on the things that are making you better. But what do you do when you want to introduce something new? You go and look at everything that you've done, bad or good, everything, and you study it. You try to understand, why am I taking action here? Notice the difference in question. Notice that I'm not asking, why am I doing this? I'm asking, why am I taking action? What is it that really makes me take action towards this and not this other thing? And how can I take this idea that I've learned from this bad habit, from this thing, and apply it to this other good thing that I'm doing? Like, for instance, I watch a lot of social media. And the problem is that if you consume a lot of social media, mainly YouTube, you will get your brain just mowed, just absolutely smooth, just smooth out. Just everything in your brain will become rot. It will die out because you consume, you sit there, probably with a bad posture, and of course, you are not really concerning yourself with the meaningful. You are concerning yourself with the expedient, because that is transitory. But what does it mean, and how can you turn that into a meaningful experience? Well, you see, the problem is not the consumption. The act itself is not the problem. It is actually the lack of engagement that you have with that media. The lack of engagement that you have with that specific media is the problem. You see, when you passively consume, that's a big problem for your brain, because it just lulls. It just becomes like a song, a siren song for your brain. And the more you do it, the more you train yourself to go faster and faster and faster into that state of just consuming mindlessly, brain rotting, because you are passively consuming. Try to actively consume. And I don't mean just focus on it more. No, I mean actively do something, say, create something with what you have watched. It can be just opinions. It can be, oh, I laughed at that joke. It's so funny. I'm probably going to say that to John, to whatever, whoever. So make a note, do something, create something, engage with the content that you are consuming. Don't be a passive consumer of anything. If you are passively consuming, that's why you always feel exhausted. Okay? So what do we learn about that? Is that you consume all of these things as a bad habit. You do it over and over and over again. And now you have trained yourself to just continuously do that habit. That habit just becomes compulsive, addicting. Okay, what have you learned from that? You take action. In the end, if you train yourself enough, you will take action towards the things that you want to do. Because it works for the things that you don't want to do. So it works in worse situations. You have something that you don't want to do. You actively don't want to do anymore. And it works for that. Why wouldn't it work for something that you want to do? So do it a lot of times. You open your phone about 100 times a day. Do that thing that you want to instill in your life 100 times a day, and you will have change in your life. But you see, most people think that change has to be this big, huge thing. I'm not saying it has to be the small thing. What I'm saying, if you hear the nuance, is the fact that it has to be a big number. Understand that the more repetitions that you do, the easier it becomes to not follow this garbage advice and actually do what you already know you should be doing. That's why Jordan Peterson is so annoying. And most of the people in this industry are so annoying. They become so radicalized. They become so extreme in their viewpoints. And their advice is so garbage. It's so common sense. And by definition, all of the advice that Jordan Peterson does and gives, if it's popular because it's general and basic. That's what it means to be popular. General and basic. Synonyms for popular. You have to understand that that's why these things are so popular. Because they are basic. And most of your problems are not these ones. You already know all of them, and probably everything that you have been told in this video as well. You already know most of the things. The problem is that you don't do them. And it's not even a problem. You can solve it in about 5 days, 10 days. Once you understand how to generate that change, once you understand that all that matters is repetition, doing copious amounts of repetition until you addict yourself to the process. You have to understand that to addict yourself to the process, you have to go between 500 to 1,000 repetitions. With your phone, you achieve that in 10 to 20 days. Every single 10 to 20 days, you have 500 to 1,000 repetitions with your phone. You just unlock it 100 times a day. You have to understand that that's exactly how it works. That's exactly how change works. And most people want quality. They want something great before they addict themselves to the process, before they connect themselves to the higher power, to the source of energy, which is addiction. Try to addict yourself to the things that you want to do, and you will not need any sort of results. You will not need any sort of motivation, inspiration, all of these things. So no matter what the world throws at you, no matter what periods of your life you have at that moment, you will feel amazing about what you are doing. Not only will you feel amazing about what you are doing, but you will improve and you will guarantee better results. And even if they don't come, you will not care, because at this point, you're so addicted to what you are trying to do that you will have so much fun and you will understand how to really profit off of it, even though if that profit will not be monetary, you will understand how to get something else. Your brain will try to comprehend, why are you spending and doing so many repetitions of these things? Why are you addicting yourself to this? And trying to really solve that problem, your brain will inevitably say, oh, it's because he likes it. It's because she likes it. They're doing these things because they might like it. That's what your brain will do. This is predicated on the idea that you don't have any control. So if you had control, what you would say is that you should start small. You should start with all of these rules. You should start by doing small incremental steps each day, doing it every single day, and doing it slowly so you don't jolt your nervous system or you don't overwhelm your brain. I'm telling you the opposite. You should actually overwhelm your brain as much as possible so it has to change in that region of your brain, that basal ganglia that has to do with behavior. That's what you have to do. Overwhelm it enough so it has to calculate new behaviors. Whenever you are in the chaos, you develop new behaviors. Whenever you put yourself in overwhelming situations, of course, meaningful, overwhelming situations, things that don't hurt you. But most of the things that we do have no real bad consequence. You have to understand that when you do something new that you want to do, the bad consequences might not be even existent. When you want to improve yourself and you start to do all of these repetitions, what would be the biggest downside? That it might not work. But it does work. And you already know it works. And we avoid the things that work like the plague. We don't want to change. We avoid the things. You have to get this through your skull. No matter how big your brain is, no matter how intelligent you are, no matter how many things you understand, we avoid the things that change us like the plague. We avoid them. And that is the reason why we consume bullshit like Jordan Peterson. We consume basic advice thinking that that's what's going to get us to change our life. We do such irrational things, thinking that our life would actually improve if we would clean our house. No, it will only improve one singular thing, and a little bit of our life, incrementally, nothingness, almost nothing. But you're not here to change your life in 0.001% in terms of the enjoyment. You are here to change your life in 2x, 3x. And if you want that, if you really want to change your life in such a meaningful way, all you have to do is understand that you do not have any control and build every single system in your life, every single thing, build it from that viewpoint that you don't have control. Because if you had control, you could do all of these things and many more things that you know you should be doing. So let's rewind to this idea that your bad habits teach you more about yourself and how to change and how to do things. They teach you more than whatever guru has to say, whatever all these people. Each one of us forms these attachments, these addictions differently. So you really have to do exactly what that behavior is doing in order to change yourself. First of all, increase the good parts of your life so that you drown out and you don't have the time for the bad stuff. Okay? Increase that, increase the number of repetitions of the good things, and you will be set for life. But if you want more, understand it is not that you have to do more. You don't. You have to do more repetitions. That doesn't necessarily mean more time. It can mean less time. Someone who does 1 hour of work, just one chunk of 1 hour of work each day, is going to be worse, and this is controversial, in about a year, they're going to be worse than someone who does 30 minutes of work, but chunked in 3-minute intervals. At the end of the year, the person who does the 3 minutes 10 times with short breaks in between, it's going to be a bit more than 30 minutes, just a tiny bit more, depending on the breaks. They're going to be in a better situation because they have so many more repetitions that they are addicted. You have to understand that at the end of the year, the person who does an hour a day has done 365 repetitions, but the person who has done 10 repetitions a day has 3,650 repetitions. You have to understand that is a factor of 10. And that multiplying factor really counts. It really counts in human behavior. If you don't believe me, start doing 1-minute intervals or 30 seconds intervals of anything. And you will start to see that by number 20 that day, you will feel like, oh, this is nice. Of course, it cannot be something that you get exhausted too much. You don't exhaust yourself too much. You already have the capacity to do 20 minutes of that thing. You can already have, but if you don't, this is a very good way to build capacity. You do as many repetitions as you can throughout the day in a smart way, in short periods of time. Try to have the repetitions very close together so that you build momentum throughout the day, and you will win at life. You will understand how to change yourself. You will understand how to really create change in yourself. None of this bullshit, none of this informational shit. Look at the things that are addicting to you and understand them. Reorganize that bad habit to really understand what makes you move and what made you change. Once you really see all of these things and you look at the things that work to get you addicted to the bad things, that's going to be the things that get you addicted to the good things. You already know everything that you should be doing, but you don't because you do not addict yourselves to doing them. And once you do, everything becomes easy and you start to see through the bullshit. You start to see that every type of advice like this, oh, clean your room, oh, do this, oh, do that. Everything is predicated on this one idea that you have control over yourself. No one starts with the idea, well, almost no one, starts with the idea that you do not have control over yourself, and you need first to addict yourself to the process by doing as many repetitions as you can until you feel like you have addicted yourself to that. And then you can add complexity. A bonus tip over here is when you add complexity and duration after a month or two or however many months or days it takes you to do 1,000 repetitions, understand, once you add complexity, it might come, that day might come when you avoid that habit, when you avoid that addiction. And you have to understand that you have to really go back to shorter durations whenever you feel like that. You have to understand that what happens when you start to do 3 minutes of work 10 times to achieve a half an hour, you'll be every single time that timer runs out, you're going to be like, I just want to work more. You're just going to sit in that emotion for 10 seconds being like, come on, just go away, break. I need to work. I was in a flow. And you start to do it over and over again, and you develop this idea that work is not stressful, that work, just doing this simple act of really doing repetitions, not long repetitions, but as short as you can make them. As short as you can make them and as redundant, even if it sounds or it looks ridiculous, try to make them redundant. So no, Jordan Peterson, it is not the room that's the problem. It is not that we don't know all of these things. It is actually because we have no control and we don't do enough repetitions to addict ourselves to the things that we do. It is not a lack of understanding. You already know exactly how you should be doing things, what you should be doing, but we avoid change like the plague.